Yo, what's going on YouTube, and welcome back to another Division video. Now, if you missed last week's video, then make sure you go and check it out after this one, as I spoke about skills, skill modding, and the changes to talent since the last time we saw them. But in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Snowdrop Engine. Now you might be wondering why I chose to do today's Division video on an engine and not a particular aspect of the game, and the reason for that is because the Snowdrop Engine is what the Division is built in, and it's what makes it possible. Everything I've been talking about over the past few months, and will continue to talk about over the coming months, is all powered by Snowdrop. And what's more, Ubisoft Massive, the studio behind the Division, are also the ones that built this. So as you can see, it's actually quite a relevant topic. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, the reason the engine was built is because it was designed with one particular directive in mind: to do things better, not bigger. What that basically means in this sort of wider context is that in the games industry, as large-scale game projects grow in size, typically they're handled by sheer numbers. You have a big game, you have lots and lots of people, but instead the Snowdrop Engine is designed to support the way the studio works and make it easier for them to experiment and innovate with the team that they've got. At its core, Snowdrop is, and I quote, a dynamic, interconnected and flexible system which allows developers to create their assets quickly and interact with them like never before. And what that basically means is that in Snowdrop, the engine and the game are one and the same, kind of like Peter Parker and Spider-Man, only there's no web slinging this time. The reason this is good is because it means that everything runs in real time. So, if one of the developers has an idea or wants to test something, the second it's implemented, it's already playable. And it's that speed and that flexibility that allows for rapid prototyping, and it affords the development team more freedom to experiment. Now in the Division, the reason this engine is so great is because it allows a team to procedurally generate huge detailed environments with extremely high levels of lighting fidelity and real-time global illumination. And as a side note, in short, global illumination is basically a term used in 3D computer graphics which refers to more realistic lighting across 3D scenes. Now, if you combine all of this, you can begin to see why the world in the Division looks so stunning. However, the engine isn't there just to make things look pretty. It also facilitates all the other aspects that make the Division such an exciting looking game. Let's talk immersion. In a presentation given last year at EGX, Rodrigo Cortez spoke about the 4 key features that are so important when trying to immerse the player: a dynamic world, the big things, the little things, and reading the world. And it's thanks to the Snowdrop Engine that these are all possible. A dynamic world means a world that lives and breathes. It does not stay static, and it doesn't depend on the player being in the vicinity to actually react. What that instead means is that it continues to live on without you. You might be on one side of the city, and on the other side, bandits could be taking over a police station. But it's not just the big conflict-style events that make the world alive. It's also the smaller details. For example, have you ever noticed that when you're outside, you have snow on your shoulders, yet when you go inside, it melts? Or, do you remember this scene when they're fighting the big guy, the Juggernaut, and there's an explosion? That explosion melts the snow on the ground. Snowdrop, baby! If you've already seen my video on the open world, then you'll know that it's huge. And this is also a key part of immersion. The map is the biggest that the studio has ever created, and it is all accessible without loading screens. After all, loading screens would break the immersion, right? And the world itself experiences a live day and night cycle as well as real-time weather, so again, the surroundings you roam around are forever changing. But a huge open world is nothing if it doesn't feel alive, and that goes back to what I mentioned earlier about how the world will continue to live, irrespective of where you are. And what's more, the world isn't just affected by the weather, but it also reacts to you, the player. Now what do I mean by that? Well, remember this? Something so simple, probably overlooked in the intense combat scene, but in most games, that car model there would be a fixed static object and you just shuffle all the way around it and that car door would remain open. But not in the Division. That, my friends, is an example of the world reacting to you. Something as simple as just shuffling past and closing a door so that you can smoothly shuffle across a car, that is a small sample of your world reacting to you. Now, moving on to the big things, the huge world. The reason it's so easy for Massive to produce this world is thanks to the Snowdrop Engine. What you're seeing right now is some footage from the EGX presentation that shows just how quick it is to iterate within the game world. And as mentioned earlier, once it's in place, it's live and ready to test. And thanks to that dynamic lighting that I also spoke about earlier, the world that you can so rapidly create on the fly is then lit in a realistic manner. And lastly, with all of that combined, the vast world, the big things and the small things, the last step is about how you read the world. Now what I mean by this is the way that you react with your objectives, the ways that you know how and where to go. In most games, you open a menu and this breaks the immersion. But in the Division, you've probably seen this before. Or this. These are methods of receiving information while still remaining completely and utterly within the world. And aside from these looking pretty damn cool, They go in lengths to make sure that you are fully immersed at all times. A map opening up beneath you means you never need to look in a menu. Or, floating HUD elements that appear next to your teammates means that you can look at them and not the side of the screen to try and work out how they're doing. All of these things like that tied together ensure that you have a massive, living, breathing world that you are fully immersed in at all times. And that, my friends, is pretty much it. As you can no doubt see, the underlying Snowdrop engine makes it so that the team Massive can do some pretty cool things, which should hopefully translate into an awesome gameplay experience for us. So that's it from me this week, and thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that like button down below. It does really help me out, and obviously don't forget to subscribe for daily gaming videos and weekly Division coverage. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of all of this, and once again, thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.